The undefeated Atlanta Falcons go to New Orleans this Sunday for a big divisional matchup. Falcons are 2.5-point favorite at New Orleans. I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints in this one. I'm looking for the upset. I think the Falcons have been playing a little bit lucky. Very good team, but they're not as good as their record. VR, I know you're nodding. I think you're on the same side as me in this one. What are you thinking?
Listen, you don't have to twist my arm to back the Saints. I'm looking for any excuse to back them. I'm a fan. But with that said, I try to be unbiased too because I don't want to lose money. I agree with you. I thought Atlanta's been an undervalued commodity in the marketplace because you talk to most odds makers, they don't even have them in their top 5. I disagreed until now. I think now the betting market's caught up because they've won some primetime games, and more importantly, they've covered. Whenever a team's 8-0 and 6-2 against the spread, I think that's a classic reflection of a team being undervalued in the betting market. Because usually an 8-0 team, you'll be lucky to be 4-4 ATS because everyone's betting it, and the odds makers are going to protect the bookmakers by inflating the price. If the Packers are 8-0, they're not going to be 6-2 ATS more times than not, unless they're scoring 55 points a game. Now I think it's caught up with them. But more importantly, I think the Saints, coming off that big win Monday night, here's a team that's not only dangerous, but now all of a sudden believes they could win some football games. If you listen to what Drew Brees said after last week's game, it tells me that this team, the locker room, as far as the mentality in the locker room, they want to go out there and beat some teams. And they could beat a division team that's way ahead of them. I think this is a bad spot for Atlanta. And New Orleans is going to be that team that if they don't make the postseason, they're going to ruin a lot of teams' hopes, and nobody's going to want to play this team down the stretch.
Chuck Edel.
I'm a big fan of going against Atlanta. I mean, I did go with Dallas against Atlanta, and I still feel like if I had a coach out, I would have got there exactly. But this is an Atlanta team. They've only beat one team this year with a winning record. That was Denver. The record of their opponents this year, 24-41. The teams that they played. That's the record of their opponents. The Saints team is coming on. Last year the Saints dominated them at home. They beat them 45-16, and they had that overtime win. They had Atlanta 26-23. The Saints at home, Saints have been money at home over there. In fact, their last 17 games, they're 14-3 against the number at home.
You don't bet against this team at home.
They're starting to come on.
I gave them, last year I gave them
We had that talk. We had that talk.
We did have that talk. I gave them the highest rating I've ever given a home team.
Me and you both. I came back from New Orleans the first time I went. And I did a video with RJ and said that exact thing. I'm adjusting my home field advantage for New Orleans because I could not believe how intimidating it is for the other team. And this year I got asked a few times on Twitter, did you change your rating because of the first few games? I said the sample size is way too small. This team's home field advantage is still the best in the NFL. They went 8-0.
17 out of 20?
They went 8-0 at home and 8-0 ATS last year.
14-3 their last 17
Here's a team that could have won all those games that they lost so far this year. And at home, they're as dangerous as they come.
Now they won 3 out of 4, but before that,
if anyone had an excuse, it's the Saints.
They lose to Kansas City.
That was a bad loss.
That was
But now Joe Vitt is back, and I think this is a new team. I really do. They still have their problems.
I think when VR said they really want to win and all. I mean, I think they've moved on from all that stuff that's happening. They're already they're peaking right now.
Not feeling sorry for themselves.
Okay, we've talked about it. I'm going to go ahead and make it official. I'm going to take the New Orleans Saints plus 2.5 against the Atlanta Falcons. I think this is a team that's coming on. I think if you look back to last season, and by the end of last season, they were arguably the best team in the NFL, even though they did lose in the playoffs. They certainly have their problems this year, but I think they're rounding back into form a little bit. I'm getting them as a dog at home. I'm going to take the New Orleans Saints over the Falcons.
Did you have to remind me of losing that last year? I had them as a future. And all I needed them was to go to the Super Bowl.
I didn't want to play salt
against when San Fran went down and scored with that.
I think grab the number now. They're plus 2.5. I don't think you're going to get a better number than that.
They shouldn't be a home dog the way they're playing the
And throw a little on the the money line.
Sprinkle, baby. Sprinkle something.
Okay, we coming up next. Who's up next?
Me,
we got
baby.
VR.
Buffalo, New England.
Buffalo and New England is going to be VR's game coming up next. Just a reminder, you can see all our videos at pregame.tv.